Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Ria. Today I'm going to talk about my encounter with the Jezebel spirit. So the Jezebel spirit in psychology is called the narcissist. It's two different names for the same thing. And it's a known fact in psychology that empaths always end up attracting narcissists. That's because empaths are prophets or prophetic people with prophetic gifts. These gifts were God-given because God has a big calling on their life. God has called them to be prophets. Of course, not everyone is going to follow that calling. This is why not everyone who has prophetic gifts are prophets. Some prophetic people end up becoming witches. That's a whole different story. So anyway, prophets or prophetic people are sensitive to the supernatural, are very sensitive to other people's emotions. They have these abilities, they have these gifts. And Jezebel was always looking to destroy the prophets in the Bible. So it's very common for prophetic people or empaths to have dealt with narcissistic people since they were a child. It's very common that they grew up in a narcissistic household. They either had narcissistic parents or siblings or authority figures like teachers that were always trying to put them down. And a common misconception about the Jezebel spirit in the church is that this is mainly about people who are lustful and seductive and about fornication. It's not always about that. What I found the most common thing with the Jezebel spirit is narcissistic people. It's control. It's all about control and manipulation. So they want to control everything, no matter how small or big, even insignificant things. Sometimes people will show early signs of narcissistic behavior by trying to control things that seem very insignificant to you. Like, for example, why did you place the bags on that side of the car? I want to put my bag on this side and you should put the bags on the other side, when they could have easily just put their bags on the other side. So things that don't make any sense, they just have the need to control everything. And of course, this also applies to bigger things. They want to control the narrative, so they will hurt you, and then when you react to it, they will twist it. So they will use your reaction to blame you for not being a good friend, a good daughter, a good sister, whatever the situation is. They will act as if they are surprised that you have any type of reaction to what they're doing, and they completely dismiss the fact that they are the ones who caused it. So they pretend like they never did anything wrong, and they blame you for having any type of reaction as if you were supposed to remain your best self with them. And they are appalled that they have to deal with any sort of consequences for their actions. They just can't accept that. They also cannot take any accountability for their actions. So you can sit and argue with them for hours. It's a losing battle from the beginning because Jezebel is not concerned with the truth. You can put all the facts in front of them. It's not going to change anything. They will twist and turn things because their ultimate objective is control. They don't care about what actually happened. So by getting into an argument with narcissistic people, you are giving way to the Jezebel spirit to torment you. Because once you start getting into it and arguing, you already fell into the trap. Because the ultimate goal of every demonic spirit is to torment you, is to take away your peace. So any way they can do that, they will. And so don't try to justify yourself if you're dealing with a narcissistic person. You really need to have strong boundaries. Now, the obvious best way to deal with narcissistic people is to cut them off. But some people grew up with narcissistic relatives, parents, siblings, and sometimes due to the circumstances, they can't cut them off. So in this case, having strong boundaries is very, very crucial. And I'm gonna make a part 2 on how to set strong boundaries and maintain them. no matter how hard they try to cross them. So I'll definitely make a video on that. But today I want to talk about my encounter with the Jezebel spirit and how the Lord revealed to me who was working with the Jezebel spirit in my life. So this particular person is someone in my family, and since we were young, we would always argue with each other, and it was always the same dynamic. So they would do something to me, and then if I had any sort of reaction to it, I was the bad person. And that tormented me for years. Before reading the Bible and knowing what I know now, I really didn't understand all these things. I didn't know that God had a calling on my life. I didn't know that I was prophetic. So as children, we often internalize these things. So this was a very common dynamic. And it's not until I became an adult that I set very strong boundaries, and I just didn't get into that dynamic anymore. So that was happening in the natural, in the physical. So this is how the Jezebel spirit was manifesting in the physical through that person. But I saw the Jezebel spirit in the spiritual realm. So I had a vision where I was arguing with the same person, but that was happening in the spirit. And because it was in the spirit, my spirit was awake, and right away, before even getting into it, so that person was provoking me, was trying to get me to have a reaction. But my spirit was awake, caught that, and said, no, wait. I'm not going to get into it. I know who you are, Jezebel. And right away I had chills, and then that person transformed into the demon. I wanted to rebuke that demon in the spirit, but I couldn't utter a sound. I was like paralyzed in the spirit. Then I woke up, and in the physical realm, I rebuked it, and I did some spiritual warfare prayers, and I thanked the Lord for giving me that confirmation, that reaffirmation. Because, you know, sometimes it's difficult since you're a child being gaslighted. Sometimes you question your own sanity. You question if it is your fault. But the Lord is really, really faithful, and the Lord will always reveal the truth to you. I had multiple encounters with angels and demons, especially after I got saved. Before I got saved, I would see demons, but they would masquerade as beings of light, as deities, Hindu deities and Buddhist deities. So it wasn't necessarily the same type of spiritual attacks that I would get after I renounced all of the New Age practices, but that's a different topic for a different video. So I just want to tell you that if you have dealt with the Jezebel spirit, if you have been exposed to narcissism since you were a child, it means that you have a great calling on your life. The devil wouldn't bother trying to destroy you since you were a child if he didn't know what God can do through you. Chances are that you are prophetic and you were called by God to be a prophet or prophetess. So the devil will often target the most powerful people since they are children, because this is when he can inflict trauma, and this is where strongholds begin to develop in your mind. Certain ways of thinking that shapes the way you see the world, yourself, and your beliefs. So these are strongholds that need to be dismantled. So the devil really attacks children when he knows what God has called them to do, and he's terrified. He's terrified at what God can do through you. So I just want to give you a word of encouragement. If you still suffer from the remnants of narcissistic abuse, like for example, if you feel guilty about expressing your needs because you didn't grow up in an environment where it was safe for you to express your needs, or if you feel guilty about reaffirming your boundaries, or if you feel like you're responsible for how other people feel, those are all consequences of narcissistic abuse, but freedom is possible through Jesus Christ. When you know who you are in Christ, He will heal you from all of these things. All of these false beliefs will just fall off from you. So that's all I wanted to say today. Stay tuned for part 2, where I will share more practical advice on how to deal with narcissistic people when they try to gaslight you or they try to provoke you to get a reaction from you, how to maintain strong boundaries that they cannot cross no matter how hard they try to cross them. So stay tuned for that. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.